Kavanaugh, Kavanaugh. Actually, I'm not going to talk about that. This is from the College Fix, published September 28th of 2018. The title reads, University Tells Student She Can't Share Statistic on Link Between Abortion, Premature Birth. This is Valerie Flokstra, and she surreptitiously recorded her meeting with Nancy Norman and Vandy Britton, who leads the teacher education program at the University of the Fraser Valley in British Columbia, and shared it with former talk show host Andrew Lawton. Flokstra earned a meeting with the professor and department chair because she questioned whether high abortion rates in Canada could be playing an indirect role in increased diagnoses of autism. Lawton said. The class was told that premature births were a factor in increased diagnoses, leading Flokstra to cite research that found abortion linked to preterm births. The meeting took place in December. Flokstra has only released the audio now because she has since graduated and works in a private school and is safe from academic reprisals, according to Lawton. Now, I just want to go through this audio and deconstruct it along with you. Please add your comments and corrections below. Now let's dive in. Commence.
Well, I know you're a Christian. You've spoken about God and your beliefs a lot.
Yeah.
And you're obviously a very proud Christian, right? In the sense that you feel good about being a Christian.
Yeah. And I realize I can't talk the same way in the school situation as I can here, and my TM and my FM can both attest to the fact that I've been very professional at the school. But here's a place where I'm really excited to have those critical thinking conversations.
But it's not critical thinking, it's critical mindedness, which is different. Okay, so critical mindedness is about being open to other people's ideas too, and hearing what they see and not always filtering it through your lens.
Okay, so it's not about critical thinking. It's about critical mindedness. The first rule of these people is to change language, is to upset your opponent by changing the rules of contest. Specifically within discourse, changing the terms of engagement, the literal terms that rule and that make sense of what is going on. So critical thinking is out the window. Now it's critical mindedness. What is critical mindedness? Being open to the ideas of others. So what does the word critical mean anymore? Being critical of your own lens, being critical of your own position within the discourse, which goes to say that your position is problematic and we need to be critical of your mindedness so that you can be open to our mindedness. It's a tactic basically to squash any sort of debate, which is what critical thinking is, and absorb the other mind into the all mind. That is what it's truly about.
Here's a place where I'm really excited to have those critical thinking conversations.
But it's not critical thinking, it's critical mindedness, which is different. Okay, so critical mindedness is about being open to other people's ideas too, and hearing what they see and not always filtering it through your lens.
Okay.
So that's where I go back to what happened in the class with me. It's hard, right? Because the same way that we immediately, when we hear something and it triggers a connection for us somewhere else, and so immediately it's a personal thing.
The professor is saying that this critical mindedness is very difficult because you have to catch yourself from being triggered, and you have to suspend your own trigger, right? So what the girl did in class was bring up statistics about abortion, and she's in trouble for possibly triggering other students. And it's those other students with a certain perspective on abortion that need to be protected from this harm, whereas her and her opinion, possibly because it's dominant, possibly because it's Christian, possibly because it has something to do with maybe white supremacy or whatever reason that they're going to give out, if they give out any reason, her triggers need to be suppressed and the other person's triggers need to be coddled and protected. So they upset the field of engagement, and then they start to stack everything in an extremely hypocritical manner to heap the sin, to heap fault, to heap faultiness, and to delegitimize the opponent position and to strengthen their own position, right? So it's not actually about being open to ideas. It's actually about being sensitive to certain ideas and suppressing of other ideas. That's what it's truly about.
Nancy, is maybe that when you have those connections that you write them down for yourself. Okay, just like literally get the piece of paper and then you've got that connect, because that's a great way for you to learn.
So
right?
you're saying I can't say what I'm thinking in class?
No, I didn't say that. Did I say that?
Because that's what I did, and I feel like that's what I'm in trouble for.
It's not that you're in trouble. You really...
I love how frustrated they get, the professors. And this happened up with the Lindsay Shepherd case too. They get so you just don't get it, do you? It's so patronizing. It's like they're talking to a child who doesn't understand how ice cream is made or something like that, right? Which is a tactic that presupposes that the professors have the authority and the other person is too dense to get it. So you undercut them by saying that there's no such thing as debate, only open-mindedness, that you have to suppress your triggers and be aware of these other triggers. And then furthermore, that you are somehow not getting it, that you're kind of dumb. Even in that a minute and a half, we already see these three tactics, three attacks upon the students' character, mind, abilities, and furthermore that sigh is so telling.
It's not that you're in trouble. It's not that you're in trouble. I mean, it's not with me, and I don't think it is with Nancy either.
It's just that from my perspective, and what
This is the other teacher. From my perspective,
happened in my class, is that I need to make sure that the other students are in an environment where they feel valued and safe and they can contribute and they're not shut down and they're not brought into a place where they're uncomfortable too, right?
so the student that's in the Inquisition is shut down, is devalued already. She's been devalued by her opinions and by her ability to grok whatever these teachers, like quote unquote teachers, these people are imprinting a certain sort of behavior and a certain sort of mindset. They're ideologues. That's what they are. So she's been silenced, shut down, pulled outside of class, and devalued inherently. At the same time that those professors are doing that, they're saying that they don't want that to happen to other people. Right? So they are marginalizing and delegitimizing her on behalf of the marginalized and the delegitimized. And furthermore, a hypothetical marginalized, a hypothetical delegitimized. Listen to this.
So that we're all in that same position in that room, and there's 31 people plus me, 32. So my role is to monitor the conversation and to, when things are when there's the potential for actually a lot of could be very hurtful or painful for somebody in the class.
Listen to that. The potential for pain, the potential for upset. So she's there to monitor the conversation for the potential of what might be upsetting to some. So she's monitoring the conversation with a prefabricated set of ideas that are potentially agreeable, potentially disagreeable. And then she goes in there and she imposes that, and she shepherds the flock, and she polices the discourse. And what does that do but disallow any sort of critical thought, disallow any sort of argument, because that argument would attack that system that she already has. And that is the most important thing to protect. It's not the feelings of other people. It's the integrity of their worldview. That's why they jump on the students who speak out. That's why they pull them aside and try to manipulate their minds, because they don't really care about actual individuals. They don't believe in individuals. They're collectivists. They believe first and foremost in their ideology. And that's why they have to implement this ideology by squashing speech, by squashing debate, by sweeping facts out the door that are potentially harmful.
It's my role to talk to you about that.
But
So if someone in the class had an abortion, and we don't know, there's, it's 1 in 10 women. So if that technically there could be, I don't know, 15 women, so 2 women in the class that may already have had an abortion in their life.
And which the statistic would be totally upset, because the women in the class are probably 20, 22, right? 1 in 10 women have had an abortion probably talks about women of all ages. So when you're 60, or if there was a class of 15 60-year-olds and 1 in 10 had an abortion, but if it's 22, it's more likely that it'll be less than 1 in 10. But anyways, the potential for those two to be in that classroom, to hear something upsetting to them.
It's that thinking ahead before you say something that we're talking to you about. It's not that we want to shut down what you're thinking. Absolutely not. And that's what I'm saying too. So sometimes maybe what it is writing it down to think, okay, what if I say this, does it have the potential to hurt anybody?
But the thing is, it's a medical statistic that I think everyone has the right to know.
But again, I go back to the conversation was about autism. It wasn't about abortion. If someone was going to be, and I would say this is true because I've had this as a teacher, I've had talks about abortion in class, and it's been a project. But I always, before it happens, I talk to students ahead of them and say, if anyone is uncomfortable, for whatever reason, come and talk to me. And I've excused girls from being in the class while the conversation has happened because I care about their safety.
Okay, this is a point that's quite belabored at this point, but by treating females as so fragile, what does that say about your true belief of how strong a woman is? If they should be excused from surprise facts or from surprise unscripted speech, right? What does that say about your trust in the integrity and grit of women if you need to watch out for them and protect them at all costs? That's a belabored point, but
this is a university, it's not a high school. Universities are supposed to be places with freedom of speech and sharing ideas. It has nothing to do with freedom of speech and sharing ideas. It's still about you create an environment in a classroom, no matter where, no matter what age of people, that considers the needs of the people.
So it's not about freedom of speech. It's about the potential for speech to trample on other people's feelings. So it's the harm principle. I don't understand how they can't see that you are going to suppress speech. So it is a free speech issue if you're suppressing speech. No matter the reason why you're suppressing speech, you're still suppressing speech. So don't say it's not about free speech. It is about free speech.
It's not a high school. Universities are supposed to be places with freedom of speech and sharing ideas. It has nothing to do with freedom of speech and sharing ideas. It's still about you create an environment in a classroom, no matter where, no matter what age of people, that considers the needs of the people.
So I would say that it is about freedom of speech, but their value system, the professor's value system, is that freedom of speech should be limited based on the potential for speech to damage other people. So it is about freedom of speech, and they're diametrically opposed to it, and they have their reasons for it. But they have to play the game, well, it's not about freedom of speech, it's about this other thing. But it is. They're intimately linked.
If I came in and didn't let you say what you believe, I'm shutting you down. If I
kind of feel like you are shutting me down, though.
Did you hear that sigh? I'm not doing that. I just want you to shut up. It's not that I'm shutting you down. I'm just trying to get you to shut up. Why don't you understand that? Long pause.
No, I'm not. I'm asking you to think about the other people around you and how what you might say could impact them.
This is the thing that really bugs me. The things that you might say could be potentially harmful. So it goes back to that, and that goes back to that Tom Cruise movie. What was that Tom Cruise movie? It goes back to Minority Report, right? So they have this crystal orb that sees into the future, but they can't actually see into the future. So they are projecting into the future a certain list, a certain filter. They are projecting into the future, into current happening of debate, a certain filter, while saying at the same time, you need to be open-minded and not have a filter. When you come into this room, you need to let go of your filter and submit yourself to our filter, right? Because they cannot see into the future. They cannot hash through the potentialities of harm. And so it comes back for me, is that how harmful is speech? I don't particularly like detrimental speech. I don't particularly like dehumanizing speech. I don't like that. I don't participate in that. And within the civil discussion, if facts become something that are off limits, that's where I draw the line. You can argue about facts, but if you can't even argue, then all you have to do is believe. If you cannot critically think, the only thing left for you to do is to uncritically accept. That is the only option. And if you can't have freedom of speech, if you can't have the ability to be wrong, to trample on other people's feelings, then you are nothing more than one of those chickens that sit all their lives in a freaking cage being stuffed full of grain and then chopped up and blended into chicken nuggets, right? That's the only thing you're going to be worthwhile doing if you cannot exercise your mind. That's the only thing your mind's going to be tasty for, is in pureed chunks of deep fried, ideological rabble bits or something. To continue.
No, I'm not. I'm asking you to think about the other people around you and how what you might say could impact them. That's a different thing than shutting you down. Your beliefs are your beliefs, and it's not my place, and I never, ever, ever would tell you what you can or can't believe, but I can talk to you about what you say and how you act in the class.
Okay.
The impression, though, that you're saying that I need to see everybody else's perspective with critical mindedness, but other people don't need to consider my perspective with critical mindedness. That's the impression I'm getting.
That's what you're feeling?
Yes.
That's not my intention. Absolutely not.
Then how come when I say something that in my mind fits very well with the current conversation, it's a problem? Like, I'm going to be scared to say anything in class then, because to me, everything I've said has been equally valid, fitting into the conversations, including the two comments we're talking about right now. So I'm not going to be able to distinguish between the two, which means I won't really be able to contribute. And plus, I thought universities had freedom of speech for discussing controversial issues like this.
It's not freedom of speech per se. It's that we still consider people's feelings, and we don't just say whatever. Otherwise, that's why we don't have the KKK having a club on campus. That's freedom. That's not freedom of speech. That's hate, right? So we don't put forward ideas that are are intentionally or not, that are hateful. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes people's abortion is one of those contentious issues that can make someone feel that they feel threatened on both sides, right?
But I did not say any opinion about abortion. All I said was a medical statistic. There's a big difference there.
I agree, but it wasn't the whole story either, right? Like, there was, again, I'm going back to the leap, that it was this leap to here, that to there. What you're saying is that abortion causes autism, which isn't true.
I already said I'm not saying that abortion causes autism.
Then why would it have come up? That's the piece that I'm struggling to understand.
Me too.
Well, I think we've already talked through this.
No, but clearly it's still bothering you. That's why I'm coming back to it again, because I feel like you're feeling threatened by what I'm talking about.
I feel you're being threatened by what I'm talking about, when the whole conversation is about the potential for people to feel threatened by what she says. She brought up a fact, but that the teacher automatically justifies the squashing of speech because the KKK is not allowed on campus is the same thing as Nathan Rambukkana saying that we don't show Jordan Peterson because that's like showing Hitler.
Not to kind of do the thing where everything is kind of compared to Hitler, but this is like neutrally playing a speech by Hitler or Milo Yiannopoulos from Gamergate.
It's the same conflation of the harm principle, that it detaches itself from reasonableness. It's already detached from reasonableness because it's looking into the potential. It's looking into the might be offensive, right? And then it's projecting through that. It's using that. It's gaming that. It's abusing that goodwill to assert control over the conversation. Basically, we cannot talk about conservative principles. That's basically what it boils down to. That's how it will be implemented over and over and over again, because that is the belief system of the people who are enforcing this. The people who are in power end up suppressing only certain sorts of speech and then giving more space to other sorts of speech, and which goes to say ideas. There's certain ideas that you are not allowed to say, therefore you shouldn't actually believe them. You should go along with these beliefs because these are the only beliefs that you can actually play with. These are the ideas that you can play with. And so you're going to get better and better at these ideas, and then when you grow up and you're in a position of power, you'll automatically go in and start to promulgate those certain sorts of ideas, those certain sorts of words and thoughts will gain broader and broader mind share. And so what ends up happening is a feedback loop where these professors are not even aware of the cognitive dissonance in what they're saying. They're saying it's not about freedom of speech. They're saying that, if you say this, it's kind of the same as hate speech. If you bring up the question of gender pronouns, that's the same thing as questioning killing the Jews, right? Those things are on par now, and if you look at the connections they make are always between really extreme hate groups or extremely violent ideas and ideas that they find troubling or ideas that they disagree with. And what ends up happening is that you have more and more conservative-minded people being castigated, thrown out, and then either forced to follow the party line or GTFO. Let's finish this up.
I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Well, yeah, I guess I kind of am, because I feel like my right to freedom of speech and expression is being threatened here.
You are allowed to say whatever you wish to say as long as it doesn't shut down other people. And I think that's where the question is coming into play. The fact that
They didn't think this through.
sometimes when people have very strong beliefs and views,
The wrong
shut
beliefs.
down other people.
But I'm very open to dialoguing about the comments that I said. I would love to dialogue about this. That's what freedom of speech is about. I'm happy to listen. So I don't see how my comment shut people down then. I think you're shutting me down.
I think how I perceived it as the instructor in the moment there is that there was a lot of potential for that kind of connection between abortion and autism to be misunderstood, misrepresented, to be very hurtful and damaging to other students in the class.
And that's the end of the audio. So the potential for it to be misrepresented doesn't open for the professors the opportunity for it not to be misrepresented, right? And it seems like they're admitting to their own incompetence of being able to actually dialogue with ideas that they disagree with. They would rather shut the ideas down than have ideas on the table that they find troubling for themselves. And so they're hiding behind the potential harm that these ideas might cause because they are themselves unable to defend their own positions. In the end, what they're modeling and teaching is cowardice. That's that. And I think a cat brought in a dead animal, so I'm going to go try to not get that on film because that might get me banned from YouTube. Gory cats. All right, talk to you guys soon. Ciao.
These are too big.
I don't think they've ever gone after
Oh, Zuba's going after that guy. No, she just wants to play.